All right, well, welcome back to continue the discussion for Genesis chapter 26. Genesis 26 is one of those chapters that looks kind of ordinary on the surface. Famine, family trouble, some well digging, but when you slow down, there's so much here that deserves a second look. Let's start with something we didn't cover earlier, how this chapter frames Isaac's identity. For the first time, Isaac steps out from under Abraham's shadow. Up until now, he's been the son of promise. But in this chapter, he becomes a man with his own faith, his own struggles, his own encounter with God. And that's not a small thing. When God says in verse 3, I will be with you, he's using the same covenant language he used with Abraham, but now it's directed personally to Isaac. This is huge. It tells us something about spiritual inheritance. You don't just inherit faith like a family heirloom. You have to receive it, live it, and experience it for yourself. And God honors that. He meets Isaac where he is, not just where Abraham was. Now let's talk about fear and faith. Isaac repeats his father's mistake by lying about Rebekah. She's my sister, he says, just like Abraham did with Sarah. We might read that and think, come on, man, haven't we learned of this lesson? But the truth is, fear has a way of resurrecting old behaviors, especially when we feel threatened or vulnerable. And what does God do? He doesn't strike Isaac down. He lets the truth come out through Abimelech, who surprisingly responds with moral clarity. A second time, actually. What is this you have done to us? That reversal is striking. The pagan king seems more ethically grounded than the covenant bearer. It's uncomfortable, but it's also honest. Sometimes even those outside the faith can reflect the image of God more clearly than we do when we're acting out of fear. So what do we do with that? I think this part of the chapter challenges us to wrestle with ethical responsibility. Just because we carry God's promises doesn't mean we're excused from moral failure. If anything, we're held to a higher standard. Isaac's fear doesn't negate the covenant, but it does compromise his witness, and that matters. Now let's go deeper. Now let's go deeper into the wells, and not just a property. This is not just a and it's not just a property dispute. Each well Isaac reopens is kind of a spiritual reclaiming. He's not just digging for water. He's uncovering legacy, honoring the faith of his father while living out his own obedience. The act of redigging the wells is symbolic. It's about continuing without cloning. Isaac isn't trying to be Abraham. He's saying, the God of my father is also my God, and I'll live that out in my way, in my generation. And that leads us to the name Rehoboth. Isaac says, now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish. That Hebrew word Rehoboth literally means broad places or expansion. It's not just about geography. It's a spiritual milestone after seasons of conflict and uncertainty. God gives him space to grow, to rest, to thrive. And maybe that's a word for someone matching this. God can still make room for you, even after seasons of striving and fear. One more thought before we wrap it up. Why end the chapter with Esau's marriage to the Hittite women? It feels like a sudden left turn, but the author includes it on purpose. It's not just about Esau making poor relational choices. It's a foreshadowing, a signal that Esau is drifting from the covenant path. While Isaac is reaffirming legacy, Esau is compromising it. The contrast is subtle but powerful. It reminds us that the covenant faithfulness requires not only divine calling, but human cooperation. So here's what I'd leave you with from this chapter. Where are you still living under someone else's faith? And where is God asking you to own it for yourself? Are there wells in your life, spiritual habits, values, or callings that need to be redug and reclaimed? And what kind of legacy are you building? One rooted in fear, or one that reflects trust and peace, like Isaac's declaration of Rehoboth, because God is still making room? Well, thank you so much for joining me again for continued discussion. Again, I'm having lots of fun doing these things, and these videos on the chapter readings, and as well as the continued discussion readings, are very, very personal to me, and they're very, very impactful for my life. I'm having a lot of fun doing them. I'm sure hoping that you guys are enjoying them too. Please post some comments down below of anything that you might want to see, or more you want to see more of, or less of, even that matter. I'm willing to take any kind of suggestions. So thank you so much for joining me again, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next chapter.